We need to feel what we're physically capable of and understand where those boundaries are, where those limits are. I had to come with the philosophy, like I spent 20 years trying to invent the next greatest nutrition product. And most of the things you need actually already exist. What we don't know is, what do you need?
Welcome to another Million Miles, your personal lifestyle concierge with credibility. I'm Danielle Kiesling, and in each episode, I connect you with unparalleled access to authentic, credible voices from across the entire world of beauty, wellness, fashion, travel, and mindset. Hello, hello, hello. Today on another Million Miles, I am being just like the raw, authentic Danielle right now. So apparently I've got a guest on with me today who is just as raw and authentic and basically agreed to this podcast yesterday. So we're kind of just going to be probably the most authentic two people right now on a podcast. And I love that about this. So today on another Million Miles, I'm actually joined by someone who is redefining the future of healthcare. So Brent Eck journey to creating Sage HealthSpan became after more than 2 decades. Is that right? In the healthcare industry?
Yeah, I've been doing this for 25 years.
Wow. Well, where he saw first-handedly shortcomings of reactive medicine and the limits of traditional approaches. So as you all know, this is right up my alley, driven by passion for prevention, data-driven optimization, and making advanced health insights accessible to all, not just for the privileged few. Brett set out to build a platform that empowers individuals to take control of their own health journey. So welcome on another Million Miles today, Brett. I cannot wait to dive deep into what you're doing.
Cool. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, we're both kind of like in this, this new way of thinking, I think, probably both have had experiences with formal healthcare and, with the world changing and people optimizing their health through other methods. I'm excited to talk to you. So tell me a little bit about Sage and why, how, all of the things.
Yeah, I mean, there's like so many versions of this story because, as your point, like we all have these stories about how the healthcare system has failed us. The short version is really, go to my doctor for my annual physical, get my blood drawn. And, as I'm leaving the office, he says, hey, well, I'll call you if something's wrong. And, that's not the thing to say to a guy like me who, wears an Oura Ring. And for a while, when I was doing millions of miles in the air, traveling around the world for corporate governments, I used to carry a radiation detector with me to monitor my annual rate. I'm not the guy that you say, we'll call you if something's wrong to.
We are on the same page. I'm just like, I just have to do this because I've got one of the EMF card or a ring.
The whole deal, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we're cut from the same cloth. 3 weeks goes by, 4 weeks goes by, 5 weeks goes by. He doesn't call me. So I'm like, okay, I guess nothing's wrong. But I did call the office and they said, well, there's no notes. So yeah, nothing must be wrong. So great. They emailed me my blood labs and, I did what everybody does, probably who's in my same shoes. You start Googling, maybe throw it into ChatGPT, see what you say. And I said, okay, well, listen, there's an opportunity here with just this little thing. And in healthcare, there's thousands of these things and we can talk about them more over time here. But really, the goal of Sage HealthSpan is first and foremost to just do that. Any blood lab you've ever had, grab it in a PDF, or if you have it on paper, take a picture of it with the Sage HealthSpan app. You can upload it into the app, and the app will help you understand it all. So, you can go biomarker by biomarker, look at trends over time, understand what it means. We've got this fleet of functional medicine doctors that have worked and built this huge data set for us on how to understand your labs in functional medicine speak, what optimum looks like, if you're high on something, what you can do about it, if you're low on something, what you can do about it, how to think about it. Then we dump everything into our proprietary AI. Again, it's done on your device. It's done completely private. It's not like putting your stuff into ChatGPT, where we've got a closed data set that was made by these functional medicine doctors that our AI works on, and it applies your labs to this data. And so we'll provide you a complete summary analyzing your data, looking for patterns, looking for things that your doctor might have missed, where you can optimize. And then we take it one step further, right? Because we think you should have more meaningful conversations with your doctors. We'll give you, 10 good questions to ask your doctor and give you an opportunity to email your doctor directly from the app if you'd like to, just to have a meaningful conversation. So that's like the quick version of what Sage does. I can give you the longer versions too, if you want to go down the rabbit hole of sort of how
I
my
mean,
career got me to here. But
no, because there's so much to talk about right now. Okay. So first of all, two questions just fired off in my head.
please,
Most people don't even know because doctors, it's not like doctors are like, and here's your lab work.
right.
So you don't even see, for the most part, your lab work per se. Tell me how listeners can even go about acquiring their lab work and why
Well,
that's
that's
important.
I mean, that's a great question. I mean, your doctor should be giving that to you, and if they're not, there's kind of a missed opportunity. A lot of folks can log into their doctor portal and see it and download it if it's there. Heck, I've even had people upload in the app like the notes that they scribbled down when talking to their doctor, and you can upload that into the app, and we'll help you try to figure that out too. So we get a little bit of everything in the app when folks come to upload the data. But yeah, you should ask for it. We'll certainly, like, if you haven't gotten a comprehensive panel or you want to get a comprehensive panel, like, we'll sell you one through the app. You can
Okay.
buy one and go out and quest and get your blood drawn, and it'll all show up in the app and we'll help you understand it. But mostly we think, we want to kind of meet folks where they are. Most people are going out, and every year getting somewhere between 20 and 40 biomarkers checked with their doctor. And we think that data holds a ton of useful information for you that you're not leveraging, you're not taking advantage of because your doctor's not sitting down and explaining to you, okay, what's a basophil? What's a neutrophil? What does this mean for your immune system? What do your lipids look like? Why do they look this way? All those things. And then frankly, we also think for a lot of folks, they're missing really important biomarkers. Like we're big fans when it comes to cholesterol of looking at your ApoB, or at least once in your life checking your LP(a). Make sure you don't have some sort of genetic condition that would give you a high cholesterol, right? So you know about that. In men, hormone land's a little bit easier. There's kind of just a couple little notes to play. When you get into women's health, you're talking about a whole symphony of hormones, and most doctors are just looking at one or two things. They may look at your thyroid, they may look at your estrogen. Are they looking at it at the right time of the month? Are they understanding it in the right way? We kind of think about like hormones as this beautiful symphony that's playing, and most people are just hearing one instrument at a time. So it's really a game of what are you going through, and certainly, I mean, I can give examples. I'm sure you have hundreds of them. I turned 50 this year. My wife's a hair younger than me, but she's, in the zone. The way her hormones are behaving today are very different than the way they did
Oh, yeah.
for the first
I'm
40
right
odd
there
years of her life.
with I'm right. Is she 45? She's 45.
Yeah, she's in the
I'm
zone, right?
45 too. I just turned 35.
And so, but she's spent the last 4 or 5 years going to, I don't know how many different doctors, getting,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know how many different comprehensive
That's a
blood panels,
journey.
trying to understand, like, okay, how do I make sense of what's going on with my body? And how do I get my body to start, for better or worse, behaving the way I expect it to,
Exactly.
behaving the way I want it to? She's fortunately found a really great doctor that's given her really great advice, but that was a much longer journey than it probably should have been.
Yeah.
And what we kind of think is with a tool like Sage, like hopefully we can shorten the way, hopefully we can shorten the journey, sort of help you understand how things are happening, help you understand what are some different things that can be changing in your body metabolically, physiologically, what have you, so that you're not struggling to understand what's happening.
Yeah, no, I've been on that journey. I would definitely say mine was about a three, if not a little bit more of a year process. So I can relate to her on that. And, it is so nice when you finally meet a doctor or finally get some advice. And like this app is so interesting to me because this whole landing, like your whole company solves that problem almost. It's like taking your healthcare back into your hands. And I think that that's the thing that I've learned through this journey is I felt so vulnerable to Western medicine. And if they didn't tell me, I didn't know. And to your point, if there was no problem, I didn't get a phone call. And so to me, I got really into how to, obviously the hormone situation was the trigger or like the stepping stone into like figuring out what, no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to accept like, oh, I'm sorry. You're just going through perimenopause. Like you'll be fine. I went through this whole thing where I'm like, bullshit. Like, I'm watching people on social media that are in their 60s and they're in the best shape of their life. There is no effing reason that somebody that is eating clean, taking care of themselves, working out, doing all of the right things is like all of a sudden hit this stage in their life where they can't sleep, they're not functioning, they're gaining weight. Like, you can't like paint that picture. Don't push it further. And it's so nice to educate people on like, what does all this mean? With over 26 years of real life experiences as a thriving entrepreneur, I'm here to bring you sophistication, insight, and expertise into every aspect of your life. This is Another Million Miles, where luxury meets authenticity and every step brings you closer to the life that you deserve.
Yeah, and listen, I certainly am from the camp that if anybody in the healthcare profession tells you it's just perimenopause or it's just your age or it's just whatever, like head for the hills, go find a doctor that will actually listen to you because that's just dismissing you, and that's certainly not a world that we wanna live in. The way we kind of think about it at Sage and the way I've kind of developed thinking about it over the years is to get good at anything takes practice, takes time, takes energy, and I think health, like anything, is a skill. I think most people come with this notion that health is something that I either have or I don't have, but it's not like that. Health is something that you have to learn how to work with over time. Your body is something you have to learn how to work with over time. So we always kind of think of like health as a skill set. Like, how do I dial in my sleep? Like, okay, when I was younger, I could get away with doing different things. Maybe I can't get away with that now, or I need to do different things to prepare myself for those in a different way. But how to eat properly, how to sleep properly, how to take care of yourself is a skill, and it takes time to learn. It's not something you have or don't have. It's something you have to develop over time. And that notion, I think, as soon as people can get in the mindset of health as a skill that you have to learn, I think you all of a sudden develop this deep sense of health. I don't know what you want to call it, agency. You feel like you have a little bit more control over your health, over your body, over your direction. And yeah, I mean, if you are going to put another million miles on here, on these bodies, right? For better or worse, you better know how to work the machine. You better know how to drive the machine. I just used to make the joke, right? On Sunday morning, if I'm in the car with my mom on the way to church, which by the way, I haven't done probably since I'm 12 years old, but
I appreciate
hypothetically,
honesty. There's no judgment on this podcast.
but hypothetically, right? You look over at your mom and you say, hey mom, driving me to church, like, what are 3 things you could do to become a better driver? She'll look over at you and go, I've been driving since before you existed, brother. Like, you mind your own business. But, you take a high performance driver, you take a Lewis Hamilton, a Michael Schumacher, whatever, you say, what are the 3 things you can do to
Big
get
leap.
better at driving? They're going to give you 28, right? And that's how we all need to be, we're driving the car of our own body, right? We all need to take the approach of, okay, actually, here are the 28 things I can do to improve my health, to improve my well-being, to live more vitally, is maybe a good word to use,
Yeah.
as I age and as time
Live
goes on.
vitally and optimized.
Optimize, great word, right? So, like, how can we do all that? And certainly today, the health system isn't well set up to do that, right? I mean, if you're going to get 15 minutes with a doctor once a year, and you're spending the first 11 of those 15 minutes with the doctor sort of reacquainting themselves with the 19 different questionnaires that you filled in and this, that, the other thing, it's like, you're just not going to make a lot of progress on an annual basis. And so, that's where we think, armed with something like Sage and the Sage HealthSpan app, you can walk into your doctors with a ton more information, a ton more knowledge. And we have this little dream too that, okay, if you sent this email that the Sage HealthSpan app will prepare for you to your doctor before you go and visit with relevant questions that you want to talk about in your visit, and if you've given your doctor enough time to prepare before you show up, like, we have this dream that those 15 minutes are 100% about how you can optimize your health, the things that you can do to feel better, to live more healthfully.
So how are you partnering with doctor? Like, how do doctors know? I mean, like, I feel like I'm not trying to be judgy on my doctor, but I feel like if I was like, here's my app and they would be like, what the hell are you talking about?
But we make it easy. We make a beautiful PDF for them. We help them understand it visually. We give them the questions and then we kind of give them the answers too, for better or worse, right? It's because we're trying to make it as easy as possible. And listen, you're going to find doctors. I ran a company called Metagenics. I don't know if you've heard of the brand Metagenics, a vitamin brand for 10 years. I was CEO of
Okay.
that company. It's a great brand. And Metagenics, whole philosophy on life was about, training doctors to use nutrition in medicine, helping them optimize. Sort of Metagenics was part of the whole functional medicine movement at its inception. So
Okay.
I've spent years partnering with doctors and talking to doctors about how to do things. And the right doctor will take this information, take these questions and say, wow, this is awesome. This is a patient that is fully engaged in their health. I know this patient's actually going to make a lot of progress. I really want to work with them, right?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden you become the best student in the class, you'd hope, right? Because you're showing up saying, "Hey, doctor, like, I want to take advantage of this 15 minutes. I don't want you to dial it in. I don't want you to spend 11 minutes trying to, convince me that you remember the names of my kids and therefore you understand how my body is really performing. Like, I'm trying to make it really easy on you." And so that's a little bit the philosophy we're taking is like, how can you make it as easy as possible on that doctor so that you can have a fruitful relationship? Because, for better or worse, we're a little bit working around the system, right? The system doesn't reward or incentivize doctors to take the time to go through all these details with you and to really spend the time to do the homework. You'd hope they all do. And a lot of the best doctors I know certainly do their best to. I've never met anybody who goes through the pain and suffering of becoming a doctor and says they want to just dial it in all day long and spend 15 minutes with you and give you only 4 productive minutes, right? They didn't say that. They didn't get in the business to do that. It's what the system enables.
It's
And so
100% what the system enables. It's mind blowing to me. Like your two doctors as a female, you've got your like general doctor and you've got your OB. And like, no shame on her, but like that is like, it is like at the most a 15-minute visit of 4 minutes of talking. And it's kind of this whole like, you're fine. It's this, you're good.
yeah, and I mean they're looking for catastrophe, right? They're looking for something catastrophic that is so apparent that it's going to bang them over the head and then they can deal with it. But, we think there's a lot of fine tuning you can do. There's a lot of work on the margins that you can do to optimize to improve your health. And so that's where Sage, Sage is kind of sitting there in that gap. It's in that gap between what the system actually allows the doctors to do and what I think folks like you and me really want to be doing with our health. And, we've started with blood labs, but there's a whole roadmap that we have of a dozen other places that you could go where the system, has created an opening, has created a gap. We think it's a business opportunity. I mean, we are running a business at Sage, but it's really an opportunity to step in, fill a gap that the system doesn't handle, and then really help folks, optimize themselves and feel that sense of agency. I think once you pull back the veil and understand, health is not something that's just handed down and, your doctor's a really, really smart person, but they haven't probably done their homework as well as they should have before you showed up. Like as soon as the veil's pulled back on that, I think that really opens up the door for folks to walk through and say, yeah, I've got to start learning about my own health. I've got to be an agent of my own health, and I've got to have that sense of control over the way my body's going to behave or perform for the next X number of years.
It's so cool. I have to like just share a little personal story. I'll go really quick, but like I have a total, you have to like think about this tagline as high performance healthcare. So I was just recently at the Mercedes track in Sonoma County and I was there doing like a little bit of social media for them. And I've gone to 2 like high performance racetracks now, one with BMW and one with Mercedes Benz. And you brought up Lewis Hamilton and that's what triggered this is because
I'm a Formula One geek,
I have a friend. Like, anyway, long story short, friend of a friend of a friend that knows him, I was able to get the car that I drive through like a friends and family thing with Mercedes. And that's how I ended up at this racetrack. And it's funny because it's been a couple of years since I've been at the other BMW racetrack, but like, it gives you a new appreciation of like what your car is actually capable of doing, right? And until I went to these 2 racetracks, I was that person that was like, I don't really care what my car does as long as I drive a nice, decent car and it feels luxurious and like I'm not really a car person. The last 2 times I've been on these experiences with these high performance experiences, I have like really come to like this whole fruition of like high performance vehicles are made for a certain like they're there to withstand certain stresses, certain situations, certain things. And when you kind of been talking about this, I'm kind of thinking about like it's like a weird analogy, but it's really, I had said to one of the instructors, if every single person in the world got to do an experience like this, I guarantee you there would be a lot less accidents on the road. Like people would know how to use their cars. They would know how to slam their brakes on. They would know what their vehicle is actually capable of doing and they wouldn't be afraid of it. And, I don't know. I just had this like epiphany. I'm like, you need like, this is like high performance healthcare. It's getting people to understand what your body's actually capable of doing. And you don't even know that until you have the numbers of like what's average to you or what's normal to you.
Welcome to another Million Miles, your personal lifestyle concierge with credibility. Here we go beyond surface level advice. We dive deep into transformational insights from experts who set the standard in their fields.
It is. It's a great analogy, actually. I love it. I made the driving on Sunday with my mom comparison, right? But there's so much to that, right? So much is, have to be educated on what the car is capable of, because how would you even know, right? Just buying one. But then you actually have to be in the car and get a feel for it, and feel for what it can do and understand where those limits are. And again, I think the comparison to our own bodies is apt there, because it's really about, we need to feel what we're physically capable of and understand where those boundaries are, where those limits are, but then also how different things that we do to ourselves affect that performance, right? So if we're missing a night of sleep, how is our performance affected? How is our ability to make decisions affected? If I do have that glass of wine with my friends or that beer with my buddies, like, okay, what is that going to mean for my performance? What is that going to mean for the next day? What is that going to mean maybe for the next week? If I miss a few days going to the gym, what's that going to mean for me? These are all the critical things that are important to do. We think there's sort of the core five at Sage, right? Certainly, like, sleep, stress, nutrition, anxiety, behavior, whatever the core five is that most people have, right? That you got to get right. You get those things right, and then you can get working on the fine margins. Then you can get into supplementation, red light, a lot of the biohacking stuff. But until you have the big five figured out,
Yeah.
and dialed in, a lot of the fine margin work is, I don't know, Peter Attia uses the expression sort of majoring in the minors. I love that expression because it is true. It's easy to get lost in the haze of a lot of those things.
Yeah.
And until you get the major things figured out, until you're, getting adequate protein and you've got you're pretty well calorically balanced and got yourself, getting a good night's sleep most nights.
Sleep is number one. I don't know about how you feel about it, but I feel like sleep and nutrition is like crazy.
And they interact with each other, right? Because if I sleep well, I'm making better decisions about food. It's easier to go to the gym. I'm in this weird conundrum where, like, because of my work schedule and everything else, like, I can only go to CrossFit at 5 p.m. at night. And when I do go, then because it's so late at night, like, I'm not getting a great night's sleep because I'm not getting as good a night's sleep as I can. So I have this trade-off between, like, my perfect night's sleep and getting a workout in. And the workout's been winning lately. I've got to figure out a way to optimize my schedule to get the workout done earlier in the day. Because I agree, like, you lose any one of these core things, and sleep is so important. You lose any one of these core things and it affects everything else.
It really does. It really does. And I think that sleep for me, just personally, and I think that we're all different. Like we're all, we all have our own DNA. So like what works for one person doesn't necessarily work the same for the other person. And I always say that. I'm like, look, you want to talk about biohacking? I'm cold plunging, I'm sauning, I freaking, I have the Oura Ring, I have an 8 sleep bed. I'm like, if it is out there, I have probably purchased it. And, but like, there's people that have come over and like stayed with me that are like, I'm just not into that. Like the sauna makes me like feel sick, or there's no way in hell I felt a difference with the cold plunge. I mean, like everyone's different. And, I think that it's really cool though to have a weapon or a tool that you can actually like start learning about your body, because that's the biggest thing that I think that until I got really connected with my body, like I didn't realize that I just didn't listen to my body. I listened to society. And before all this shit went down and like my hormones went crazy, I like don't even know how I was functioning. And it was just like but I never really got, it was like I'm not sick, so I'm good. I'm optimizing my lifestyle, and as long as I'm not sick, I'm okay. And that was, then sufficing or substituting with caffeine and all of these things. And like, until you actually have numbers and you start really playing with like, am I being true to how I feel? Like, that's when I think the magic happens.
Yeah, and how well do we understand the machinery, to get back to your car analogy? Like an Oura Ring for me was like, again, one of the big game changers in life.
Me too.
It kind of destroyed my desire to go out for a beer with my friends in the evening pretty quickly. I think that was like the first thing to go, but certainly helped me understand a lot more about my body. And I just didn't have that data. And then you go through this period of time where you're like, okay, how did I sleep? Well, I don't know. I got to check what my Oura Ring said. But then eventually, like,
on it, you're like, damn it, I got to go back to sleep.
Well, yeah, a little bit. But then eventually, like, you come out the other side and you're like, okay, now I understand what good feels like. And so, like, my own personal barometer is finally tuned in. Like, we always talked about this in metagenics, like intuitive eating and intuitive work, whatever else. Like, that intuition is great if your intuition is really well trained.
Exactly.
Right?
It's growth.
and really well dialed in, right? And if you've learned that skill, and I would say I've learned the skill of sleep optimization thanks to an Oura Ring. And so that I kind of think, what is Sage HealthSpan? Sage HealthSpan is like an Oura Ring for your blood labs. It's all
Yeah.
about, okay, how do I take the information that I'm getting every year in my annual physical? And frankly, most people don't even know if their blood lab is the right panel for them. Is it a comprehensive panel? Is it the things that they should be looking at? Because to your point, we need to personalize all this, and we need to understand what is the right thing for me. But that's what Sage is trying to do. It's trying to help take those steps to say, hey, let me help you understand what this panel is.
Yeah.
Let me help you understand like how you can use this information to dial in your lifestyle, to dial in your behaviors, to dial in your actions,
Yeah.
to so that the next time your annual physical comes around and you get your next panel, you're able to see things in a different way. You know, we'll calculate your biological age, we'll give you all kinds of composite markers, and they're just that. They're composite markers. The question is like which are the ones that you're gonna tune into? Which are the ones that are you gonna say, hey, this is meaningful to me?
Yeah.
Like biological age is kind of a tricky one, right? Because we're not trying to say you're going to live 10 years longer than somebody else who's a different biological age, right? But what we are trying to say by that is, hey, if your biological age is different than your chronological age in some way, if it's younger, that probably means you're doing a lot of things that make sense. If it's older, there's probably a few things that can be dialed in. And so we'll actually give you a breakdown of where you're optimized for, where your age is showing better than normal and where it's showing worse than normal. And then what are some things you can do to improve that next time around so that when you get your next blood lab and you put it in Sage again and we calculate your biological age, is it going to improve or is it going to get better? And again,
And
our goal is not to say like you're going to be younger all of a sudden, but it is to
no,
say, it's to say like, here's a notion
this
of,
is what you're doing and this is how it's affecting your body. And I will say personally, I've been on this like, I don't know, 2.5 year figuring out my body. And when I first started working, and this is a true story, when I first started working with my doctor, who God bless, I'm so glad I found because he's changed my life. But like my chronological age was, I'm 45, I was 42 or 43 at the time. He's like, you are 58 based off of your lab work. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, what does that even mean? And he's like, the goal is to get you to like, if you're 42, I want to get you to like at least 35. And I'm like, all right, that sounds promising. I don't know how great, but like you have a goal and you have some kind of idea of like, what does all of this mean and what does it mean towards your particular body and the way it functions? And
this is Another Million Miles, where luxury meets authenticity and every step brings you closer to the life that you deserve.
I was recently, so that fast forward now 2 years, I mean, it kept coming down, it kept coming down, it kept coming down to the point where I think he got me down to 32. And then it was, I mean, and I'm an extreme. I do everything that they tell me, plus I do peptides and I'm supplementing, I'm doing all these things. But I was in the Philippines with an completely unrelated situation being hosted at this like 5-star health and wellness spa. And we went through this whole series. I was with my former business partner at the time, who is probably just really good that she's not in my life anymore, because I think that was part of the stress that I
it's
just
responsible for a couple of years of your age.
yeah. So to make a long story short, they tested my they tested our chronological ages, right? And the woman came back in, and I don't know if I would have believed it if I hadn't been with my former business partner and she had the same test run, and hers came back basically the same as she was. It was like a year, I think, younger. They were like, what in the heck are you doing? And at first I was like, what does that even mean? And they're like, your age is like, they wanted to retest me. They're like, you're basically like functioning at 19. And
Yeah,
I'm
but I
like,
mean, how awesome is that, right? Because it's like, that's great feedback. It's a way to take all these complex biomarkers and putting it into something like a mere mortal can understand. Yeah, like I'm biologically doing the right things compared to my chronology or not. Well, so I mean, we love all those kinds of composite markers just in the way that it makes an impact on how people respond to it. It's something that everybody responds to. It's the first thing everybody looks at.
oh yeah.
It gets a lot, like I said, it gets some bad press from some people who aren't big fans of considering it, but I don't think they're understanding like really what our goal is to draw people in. It's to draw people in to say, okay, because of this biomarker, because of this composite marker, I have a sense of agency over my own health. This is something like I feel like, okay, I can wake up tomorrow morning and go do something about. And
Yes.
as soon as you feel that way, awesome, like you're on the
You're
path.
empowered. You're empowered. You're like, all of this stuff that I'm doing, all of this money that I'm investing, all the time that I'm putting into like taking breathwork classes and doing yoga, obviously it's working for me. And then when you have something to compare it to, which was my former business partner, she doesn't do that. She doesn't take care of herself. And like, that was one of our biggest like things for me is I was like, why do you want to feel like you have control over, like your neck hurting and your body aching and the inflammation. And like, there's so many things that you can do. But like, it's really like when, to your point, when you don't know, you don't know. And if somebody doesn't have, those like numbers, like you don't know what to compare it to. And you're just kind of feeling like, am I getting a load of bullshit? Or like, are these people really telling me the truth? So.
Well, I mean, the system, again, we're talking about the amorphous system, but it's just full of all these black boxes that are so happy for you to just, you give it information and out comes an answer on the other side. And, in so many cases, it's like, okay, I'm either healthy or I'm not, like it was bestowed on me.
Mhm.
And, like, we think that if you're stuck in that world, like we need to help you take some steps to get in a different world. Because if you're stuck there, it's not going to get any easier for you. I'll tell you what. And you start getting, you start getting a little bit older, you start getting into the marginal decade. And, that's where you end up, living with chronic disease and really struggling there at the end. So, our goal in life at Sage is to give people all these tools that they can use so that they can thrive for as long as humanly possible.
How do we find Sage HealthSpan? Are you located online? Is it on Apple, iOS, like Android? Is it an app?
So,
Is it a
yep.
website? Tell me more.
Yeah, so it is Apple only right now. So it's on the App Store, Sage HealthSpan. We also have a website, sagehealthspan.com, and everywhere at social media, the handle at Sage HealthSpan. So it's Sage HealthSpan universally. It's Apple only, actually, mostly for privacy reasons, because we do most of the AIs working on the device itself. So I need Apple's chip and a little bit of Apple's architecture. We're hoping to bring it to Android after, at least the newer Android models in the next few months as sort of that technology rolls out and it's up to a standard where we can ensure the same level of privacy on the devices. That is kind of one of the difference between us and like a ChatGPT or something else is you're not feeding your personal information to God knows who that's going to be used God knows how. It's all staying within a closed ecosystem. Also, we're kind of preventing hallucinations by our AI only working on a data set that we curated. So
Yes.
it's not going out and finding all kinds of data. We're making sure that the data the AI is working on and summarizing to personalize plans for you is accurate and correct and in the right zone. So yeah, at Sage HealthSpan on social media, Sage HealthSpan on the iOS App Store or the website Sage HealthSpan. So feel free to check it all out.
And is there a subscription base or how does that work?
So ironically, right now we're kind of early on in our game. It's free for your first 100 labs. Like you can upload 100 labs. We'll give you all our AI recommendations. We'll do that all for free. After your first 100
Crazy.
labs, it's $9.99 for the rest of your life to upload as many labs as you want to. I'm like at 400 right now, so
Oh my God.
I have a lot of data. But that was only $9. And then we make money by selling you labs. So like if you're missing a lab or you want to get a comprehensive lab, we'll sell that to you. So you could buy a lab from us. We'll send you out to your local Quest. You can get your blood drawn and then all your data will come in. If you want to get updates every year, or if there were gaps, like if your doctor didn't give you as comprehensive enough panel as you needed for yourself,
Yeah.
we'll help you fill the gaps. And I'm sure we'll find a bunch of other ways to sell people stuff. Like, I've spent 20 years or 25 years selling nutrition products. So I'm imagining we're going to be able to
Supplement.
sell you some pretty good nutrition products. I kind of come with the philosophy, like I spent 20 years trying to invent the next greatest nutrition product. And I think I've come to the realization the right nutrition products are invented. What we need to figure out is what are the right things for you.
Yes.
Right. So it's a little bit of a different philosophy. I'm trying to say in the nutrition world, like, hey, here's the next great thing. We're saying, well, most of the things you need actually already exist. What we don't know is what do you need?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's the question I always get when I tell people I'm in the nutrition industry is, oh, cool, what should I take? Well, I don't know. What problem do you want to solve?
I mean, that's the thing, right? People ask me that all the time. They're like, well, are you using this peptide with it? And I'm like, it is so different for every single person, and dosage and supplementation and all of that stuff.
There with the whole notion of personalized nutrition. And there's going to be a great business model for that. We think we're on track to figure that business model out around personalized nutrition, but that's what we're trying to go for.
Super cool. Well, thank you so much for all of the information. I'm so excited. I'm going to jump on this app when I get on the plane tomorrow and get my stuff uploaded. I actually was looking at my labs the other day and I'm like, I need to call my doctor and get my next set of labs. And I'm like looking at them and I'm like, I don't even know what the hell I'm looking at. So I can't wait to use this app. Gosh, for those of you who are listening, Brett's vision is obviously very, very, very clear. A world where phenomenal optimization and facts can help you really take control of the high performance person that you can be, just like your high performance vehicle. So I hope this conversation has really inspired you to think differently about your health, think differently about, those loved ones around you and their health, and share with them this information and knowledge, and make sure that you reach out. Obviously, Sage HealthSpan is out there on lots of social media platforms. Like he said, you can download the app, upload 100 labs, which is absolutely insane to me, and have a subscription for very inexpensive after that. He's kind of putting your body into your own hands. So until next time, keep moving forward, keep asking questions, and keep investing in the most beautiful assets that you have, and that is you.
Thank you for joining me on another Million Miles, where luxury and authenticity meet to enrich your journey. This is another Million Miles, and I'll see you on the path ahead in our next episode. Until then, keep embracing the journey, savoring each moment, keep dreaming big and moving closer to the life you envisioned, and traveling afar.